Hi, it's Richard here from Intelligent Advisor IT Consulting with something a little bit different. We're going to walk through the customization possibilities that we discussed in the article. The idea is that if you're new to Oracle Intelligent Advisor, it gives you a nice walk around of one of the example projects, in this case the Business License Wizard. And also if you're involved in giving a presentation or in pre-sales, or you're just looking to understand more about one of the example projects and how to customize it maybe to a specific scenario that you have in mind or a particular customer presentation that you need to make, well, if you follow along the next few minutes, you should get some good ideas. So the Business License Wizard is, in my opinion, designed to show off dynamic data display. For example, in the Business License Wizard, it's all about a decision automation whereby you make some choices about the business that you'd like to run and how you'd like to run it, and then we'll present you with a series of links. The links themselves are actually of secondary importance, but they demonstrate how to generate customized output based on some fairly straightforward and obvious questions. And we'll see more of this as we go on. The first thing I'm going to do is, if you haven't already downloaded the Business License Wizard, you can simply click Example Projects and then Business License Wizard. Now I've been playing with it already, so I get this message saying, do you want to open the existing one or do you want to copy and replace it? I want to rub out whatever I have here and start again. It's not really downloading it, in fact, it's because it's coming from your hard drive. These are all installed when you installed Oracle Policy Modeling. So let's take a look at the Business License Wizard. From a graphical point of view, you can see that it's talking about business types. And you'll notice that grocery store is the default when you go to the Interview tab and select the first screen. So grocery store is actually the only business type that works out of the box in this demo. So we'll be changing the default perhaps to another type in just a little while. And underneath you'll see a set of links to help you understand where we've got inspiration from for this demo. And you'll see a variety of stages, and you'll see a variety of screens, and each screen will be asking you a question about the kind of business that you intend to run. And then it'll get into details like, are you going to take beverage containers and so forth. And at the very end, we'll present to you a subset of this extremely long set of links. As it says on the summary page, the customized list of links is created based on the business type and your answers to the questions. So it's a sort of fictitious self-help portal to find out how to start or run a business of a particular type. In terms of the content, in the Rules tab of Oracle Policy Modeling, you'll find there are only 5 documents. So it's going to be a nice easy run through as to understanding what we need to do to set up, for example, so that it'll work with something other than the grocery store. I'm going to begin by opening the validation document, because the validation document is the first one that we're going to look at, because it has a pretty fundamental thing that we're going to need to change. It has an error rule that says, please select grocery store for this demonstration if the business type is not grocery store. Well, obviously this kind of limits us, so I'm going to change the message that it says, for example, hair salon, because as I'll show you in a second, hair salon was one of the other business types that is in the list. And I'll say, well, the business type is not hair salon, which is a yes, no, so a Boolean attribute. And I'll take a look at the original Boolean attribute, the business type is not grocery store. So you can see it's a typical kind of interpretive rule that takes a text field, the business type, and turns it into a Boolean. So I'm going to go over there now, which is in the interpretive document, and I'm simply going to copy this, and I'm going to say is hair salon if the business type equals hair salon. Validate that as well. I'm just going to use the Go To button to check that, yep, I've successfully connected these two. So I now have the Boolean attribute based on the text attribute, and my Boolean is now being used in my error rule as well. If you're thinking, well, where the heck did he get the idea of hair salon, especially since he doesn't have much hair? It's because I went to the Interview tab and clicked the first screen, selected the business type drop-down, and took a look at the values. And I thought, well, let's use hair salon for our demonstration. I could have used any of these, of course, and I could have even added some more if I really wanted to. So this is where it came from. I'm also going to take this opportunity to remove the static default because I don't want to default to grocery store for now. I might want to default to hair salon instead. So far, so good. So we've been into the validation and the interpretive document. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other things that we're going to need to change in this, in order to give ourselves a chance to have a slightly different demo. We're going to take a look at the common document now. So the common document, this is where we'll find definition of how the interview is complete. And you'll notice that in the rule for the interview complete that it mentions the grocery store. So once again, we're going to have to extend this. So we're going to extend this by allowing for the fact that we might have another scenario where we are going to be using the hair salon instead. And of course, the great news about this particular document and this particular rule, which might be becoming a little bit sticky already, is if you read underneath, the good folks at Oracle have actually left us instructions as to how we might actually extend this rule to incorporate other business types. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the example, and it says, well, you could have the business type is something and the something details have been collected, or some other business have been collected. So we can use this to get inspiration as to how we're going to do this. So I'm simply going to take the existing rule and comment it out, go down to the commented version, and go down to the point where I have selected the grocery store and something else. Uncomment that. Remove the part that I don't need because I only want to do one business type, but of course I could do multiple business types later if I wanted to, and then take those two out of comment as well. So all I have to do now is fill in with the Boolean that I created a minute ago, which is hair salon. Hope I can spell it. And I'm going to create this attribute while I type in here. When I type in the hair salon details have been collected. So of course we'll have to deal with this attribute in a little while because we're going to have to specify the hair salon details so we know when they've been collected. So thanks to Oracle, it's been really easy to add a new business type to our interview complete rule. And for the purposes of our demo, we're not going to change the general business information. So this section here, the general business information has been collected, is defined underneath. So we're not going to bother changing those, but of course you could add new screens and add new questions and add them to the general business information if you wanted to. So our next step is to figure out how we're going to set up the hair salon details have been collected so we can create a rule that tells us when the details have been sorted out. Well, as before, I could simply use this one as my inspiration, select or put the cursor on this line and do a go to, and you'll see that we'll be working in a file called grocerystore.doc. As you'd guess, this is the specific set of rules to define when the grocery store details have been collected or not. You really have two choices here. I'm just going to zoom out a bit so you can see that it's just a bunch of and saying if you've asked this question and answered all these questions, then the grocery store details have been collected. You could either just copy and paste this into a paragraph further down, or if you're going to be a good citizen, which I'm going to try and be, is you could create a new Word document and you could call it, for example, hair salon. Open it up, paste the copy in, and change the grocery store details to the hair salon details. And once again, now that I've validated, I'll use goto just to make sure that, yeah, so I used the right typing, I used the right spelling, the hair salon details have been collected, so I can see that these two are connected. Now, of course, it's up to you at this point what you do next, because obviously, if you really do want to start a hair salon, I don't think you need to be asking a question like, does the applicant intend to conduct any type of food preparation? But let's take a look at one of these questions so you can then decide how you want to progress your modifications. So I'm going to put my mouse on that and do go to. and you'll see that quite simply it is a question on one of the screens. So you basically have two choices at this stage. You could create new questions and put them on new screens, or you could use the standard screens, or you could change some of the wording so that it looked a little bit less like you were talking about food preparation. We're going to do the simple approach, which is going to create a single screen, and we're going to put some questions on it, and then we're going to use that in our completion rule. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and create a new screen, or rather, I'm going to create a new stage as well. So I'm going to close these up so we can see all the stages that exist already. Let's put one after pharmacy, and I'll drag it up here. There we go. And we'll call it hair salon. Hair salon. And we'll pop a screen inside it. There we go. So this is our hair salon screen. Specifics, we'll call it. So this is specifics. And what I'm going to do to make my life a little bit easier is simply go to the Data tab and create a single attribute as a demonstration. It's going to be a Boolean, and it's going to be the applicant intends to provide head massage services. And I'll add one more. The applicant will provide out-of-date magazines to read. You can tell I haven't been to a hair salon for a long time. So these two questions that I've created, I'm going to put on my interview in the hair salon screen. I'll go ahead and add those. Thus, applicant intend to provide a message. So now, and I'll say that the default value for this one is false, and the default value for this one obviously is true. Apologies to hair salons everywhere. So now that I've got these two questions, I can return to my Word document, and obviously in real life I would need to do something like this. And I will use the rule assistant because I can't remember the rules that I just created. The applicant, and I'll scroll down until I find the head massage, and I'll copy and paste because I'm in a hurry. I know that's not very good practice, and as you can see, I'm not very good at it either, but there we go. And we'll add the other rule. So this is what we consider to be our hair salon details. So now that we've done that, we have essentially only one more thing to do, which is to go to the summary screen. And on the summary screen, you will see a bunch of links. And all of these links relate to different permits and so forth that you need to provide to your potential business owner. And each of them has a visibility link, rule. So you can see that this link should be shown in a particular instance. So you could select one or more of these. Let's choose the let's choose the weights and measures. Right click it. There's the visibility dock rule. Open up the visibility dock again if you haven't already done so. So we could add an or here and say, let's use one of our hair salon specific rules. And validate. So it means that if we are running a hair salon, this particular link will be displayed at the end of the interview. And we could proceed to do that for one or more of these other links in the visibility dock. But we've got enough now, I think, to test drive it. So let's go ahead and click the debug button. I'll reset everything. And we have hair salon as our default type. And I'll go to next, and we'll enter first of all the general information. So this was already in the interview. Now we come to our specific page, and we'll say yes, we want to do both of those. And we have some general information that was already there. And at the summary, we have the weights and measures license, which we know we are getting because of our rule. And we have a bunch of other general ones, which are related to the other questions that we answered. But of course, we could provide more links to the user by going back and making sure that the visibility rule that applied to any of these included the fact that either it was a hair salon or, like I did, simply by associating it with one of the two questions that I added. So let's go to lottery agent just to demonstrate that again. Go to the visibility rule, and we'll say something like, or rule assistant, the applicant. I'll go and find that out-of-date message, out-of-date magazines one. There we go. So I can pop that off, close that, redebug. And you'll notice that because of the questions I answered, I now have the lottery agent there as well. As a final step, of course, there are a couple of things we could do. We could go to the Styles button on the Interview tab, and we could change, notably, this is using one of the older theme styles of what I call the Underground Railway kind of look and feel. So we could change the colors on this if we wanted to. We could change the icons. We could also even go ahead and change the theme to something completely different. And probably the most obvious thing we could do is in the navigation strip, in the header, and I could go ahead and add an image, show the header, and browse the website or browse my computer to get an image. There we go. Click OK and redebug. So now it's Stonehead County Council that is asking the questions, and when I reset, I can start the business license wizard all over again. And of course, you're free, you can easily go into the interview and modify some of this initial blurb, if I can call it that, without sounding too derogatory, because it's just general kind of information. And you can point out to the people you're demonstrating to how easy it was to customize the business license wizard in order to do this demo. So I hope you enjoyed our kind of code along exercise, and I'll see you shortly for the next example project walkthrough. Take care.